Very warm welcome, students, to yet another unit, the third unit of our course on human psychology and international relations. This unit, students, is labeled as Dynamics in Psychology, International Relations, and Global Politics. Understanding Human Behavior in Global Affairs. After doing Unit 1 onto the idea of looking at the concept of human psychology and international relations, then onto the idea of uncovering the concept of nature and scope of psychology and international relations. Now we move on to the dynamics that control the international relations, dynamics that relate to the idea of global politics and how political psychology plays a role in it. So, the outcomes of the course are you will be able to describe the basic dynamics of human psychology and explain how they intersect with the study of international relations. Further, you will also be able to analyze the role of psychological factors, perception, belief systems, emotions, cognition in shaping state behavior, diplomacy, and political spaces. Students will be able to connect psychological concepts with major theories of international relations to interpret global political phenomena from an interdisciplinary perspective. Dynamics. What are dynamics? Why are they important? So, interaction between psychological processes and state behavior. How this is always an ever evolving state, it is not static. How the impact of emotions, perceptions, and cognitive biases are seen on the decisions that are taken for the state. How role of leadership traits influence the group identity, identity formation, and group dynamics, and impact of diplomacy, conflict, and cooperation. Let us just see an example where the US invasion of Iraq in 2003 happened. The decision of the US to invade Iraq illustrates how psychological factors can actually shape foreign policies and global interactions. So, how the entire decision was influenced by the fear and threat amplification of Iraq being the host of the terrorism spots, how groupthink and confirmation bias had its important impact, how national identity and pride was assumed by US and also by Iraq with its state of liberation, enemy image construction taking revenge, and how dehumanization was also fueled as acceptance of war, and how emotional appeals and public opinion completely tried to create an influence over the decision. So, psychological dynamics that are generally seen in global affairs relates to decision making under uncertainty and stress. What are the different cognitive distortions, misperceptions, judgment errors that we take in while taking decisions, while working for cooperations and conflicts? How emotional drivers, fear, anger, pride, humiliation, how these things are felt so strongly, how they relate to the aspect of political changes that happen in the global space. How social identity and group belongingness are important concepts, and moral disengagement and propaganda also influence the dynamics. Dynamics in international relations as a separate discipline, how security dilemmas are driven by fear and mistrust, negotiation influenced by leadership psychology, trust building and cooperation mechanisms, conflict escalation due to perceived threats, and peace processes rooted in empathy and understanding. Dynamics in global politics, mass opinion being shaped by foreign policy decisions, media framing and psychological manipulation happening. Global crisis talks about migration, climate change, pandemics that occur. Radicalization and extremism is also seen as something as an emerging epidemic, and psychological resilience in crisis management. The role of resilience in trying to have an intervening effect in the management. Integrating psychology in global affairs, how enhancing diplomatic strategies can work together, reducing conflict through dialogue and empathy, designing educational programs to reduce prejudice, promoting mental health in conflict zones, how this can be preserved, how mental health can be seen as one of the major derivatives and also as one of the best practices of every country. Applying psychological research to policy making that makes policies more user friendly and also the stake friendliness is attained. So, to conclude, psychology is integral to understanding global politics. Dynamics at individual and collective levels affect peace and war. Addressing psychological factors leads to better international cooperation. So, students, I hope this course helps you delve into the idea of understanding psychology in international relations, how psychological factors play a role in global politics, and how political psychology in today's time is emerging in its own self as a very, very strong field. Looking forward to see you connected and learn more through this course. Thank you.